Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Town Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Downs, and as ever, throughout the season, I have my trusty disciples in Mr. Kane Hall and Mr. Callum Scott. How are we doing, fellas? Nice to see you back on the show once again after a week or so away. Both look like you've had fun in the sun. Callum, you
I
first.
had my first water fight today in about 15 years. It was superb.
Breaking news from Callum.
Water
Ken?
fights back in, kids.
Nice. I've just been chilling out, seeing family, seeing a bit of football. The season comes to an end, and thankfully, for once, not being sunburnt, which is tell you what, honestly,
Can't relate.
No rugby
your
league
ginger
today.
and I've got ginger skin. It's just the sun and our skin just don't go well together.
No rugby league today, Ken. No,
mate, just been keeping an eye on the scores and just watching. So, watch the Challenge Club. But Halifax lost to Doncaster today, which has just opened it up wide open again up at the top to lose Halifax and Bradford. So
I only asked because I saw 5 lads in Halifax Panthers jerseys having breakfast at the same place I had breakfast this morning.
You mean
today.
Ken Davies' second team? Anyway, never mind. Right, let's crack on with the rest of the show. We're going to tonight discuss about who should be the next Huddersfield Town manager, Kane's favourite subject. We're also going to be looking back on the 24-25 season. I've asked the lads for their ratings now. Some of you who watch the show regularly may remember after my 6-minute mute period of last week's show, where the mute microphone button decided not to work. I gave my ratings for the players. I've made a list to remind us all of that, but I've also asked for Kane and Callum's ratings as well. Very interesting, lads, to see how you rate the players. I was hoping Kane was going to send his separately. So it was going to be a surprise for Callum, but he decided to chuck it in the group chat.
I sent mine separately, and let me tell you, you have been much nicer than me.
I think Ken's been a lot nicer than both of us, to be quite honest. He's given 8s to 2 of them. So
yeah, 8 on there.
And none of the 8s are for Michael Duff, unfortunately.
I don't think I've given anyone higher than a 5. I might have given 1 6.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. But obviously, since the last show that we did, we cruised to a 4-1 defeat to Leyton Orient on the final day of the season, which gave the London club the chance to be in the playoffs. Town finished a massive 10th in the division. Callum, what were your thoughts on the final day? Just to quickly sort of run over that. Obviously, Hoggy's last day. Don't know if you stayed behind to see the sort of lap of dishonour, as it's been called by some supporters. Hoggy got cheered. Pretty much everybody else got booed. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the final day, mate?
It was a final day that did wonders to encapsulate our entire post-Christmas form. You know, architects of our own downfall once again, were we not? You know, the weirdest sort of, it wasn't even mishit, that back pass that led to the first goal. It just didn't have enough on it. It didn't go far, but it was a clean hit. It just didn't have enough on it.
Yeah.
Obviously, then they find themselves in within 4 minutes, and that were it. Then even then, I thought, right, I'll go back up for a beer, and I did.
And did you reappear again, or was
I did? I reappeared about half an hour in.
Okay, cool.
Cruise Campo, one man can drink without feeling a little bit ill.
Kane, your thoughts about sort of the final day and how it all was wrapped up, really?
Yeah, well, I thought they were going to give a bit of a showing because they had that chance after a minute. I thought, oh, here we go, Jonathan Hogg, we're going to give him a good send-off. It's going to be a good performance. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, can't wait for that. And then I forgot Josh Karoma were playing. And there you go. That's it. I mean, look at his goal. It deflected off his head and went in. It was a clearance that hit his head and went in. It's classed as a Karoma goal, but it's not, is it really? I think them two situations summed up the game, summed up the whole season. I really felt for Hoggy because he's been through a lot. This club, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but a lot of highs, and he's always worked hard. And you can never ever fault him for his performances and his heart that he's put into the club, and he would deserve to be club captain. And I was gutted for him that the way it's ended was with pretty much more Leyton Orient fans in the stand at full time to give him a round of applause. I think a lot of people stayed and waited for Hug to be taken off to say goodbye and then leave. That's
yeah. I definitely picked up on that. That there were a lot of people leaving after he got subbed off.
Because otherwise, what was the point? What was the point in being there for what? To give him a lap of honour? Hogg deserved one, but again, I think with Hoggy coming off during the game, that was a lot of people's goodbye to him, and I'm just so gutted for him because he deserves a lot of plaudits, he deserves a lot of respect, and he'll always get a lot of respect at Huddersfield Town, and I don't think he'll ever have to buy a drink in Huddersfield. Not that he'll want to. Look, he's a fine athlete, but yeah, overall, obviously a disappointing result. Just good for Hoggy, really.
For those that are watching the show, please do get involved, get your comments in. You've been fantastic to the end of the season so far, even though it's been a miserable season. You have been great in watching what the guys have had to say. So please do get your comments in and get involved in the show. Like, share, and subscribe on the video and the channel. Callum, like Kane says, kind of Hoggy didn't deserve how it ended because it kind of felt like his career at Town, his 12 years, have ended in a whimper, and that to me was the saddest thing. I did stay till the end, and the sort of when he was walking around with his kids at the end, you could tell he was a little bit emotional as well, particularly as he's going towards the south stand and then coming back towards into where the tunnel area was. And the contrast between the respect that the supporters who were there at the end, who did want to give him a send-off and sang his song, and then the rest of the squad that trailed behind, who, let's be honest, looked like they just didn't want to be there. And fair enough, who would when you're going to get booed, but they deserved to get some stick for the performances that they put in this season. It was a massive contrast, wasn't it, mate, really?
It was, and I found it quite funny, to be fair, here comes Hogg, we're all clapping, and as soon as he's gone past, then the boos start and the abuse starts. And, you sort of think, I don't want Hoggy to think that this is directed at him, but he's already had his reception, and ultimately, he is part of a team that hasn't been nowhere near good enough this season. The players deserve the reception they got when they walked around that pitch, and it wasn't a good one.
I found it very interesting, Kane. I don't know whether you picked up on it in the comms box, but at the end, while we were waiting for the Leyton Orient players to come off the pitch, Worthy didn't really talk to any of the other players. He just stood with Hoggy and had a chat with him, and it kind of looked like there were two people that cared, and the rest of the players didn't look like they wanted the lap of honour and whatever, and that was it. But they probably were only there because they'd been told to do it. But I found that quite lonely, that image at the end.
I didn't really see that, to be fair, Steve. But I'm not saying that I've not seen it because I disagree. I've not seen it. I do feel as if a lot of these players had given up a few weeks ago anyway, and I've been saying that. And why would they have wanted to be in there? The fans, they've got a right in everything that they do and say when they're paying the money to be there. The performances of what's been set out at the beginning of the season by the chairman, the manager, was way off what everybody expected. And I think that's one of the issues when you set goals is when you set goals very high, the standards have to be very high, and the standards were never there this year. The players, you hear rumours that the players can't stand the fans. I get it. At the moment, a lot of the fans can't stand the players because of the way they are. But you look at, if you're saying that, Steve, if Worthy and Hoggy are both to one side, look at the reception that Hoggy got. Look at the reception that Worthington would have got at any time compared to the others. Why? Well, because they care. Hoggy's not a Huddersfield lad, but he still give everything for all the years he's been there. It doesn't take a lot. It takes absolutely nothing to go and show and give your all. It takes nothing, and you'll get a lot more support than that. I feel as if, look, yeah, it's been a really, really poor season, but if them players would have worked hard, every single game, and really put a shift in, would it have been like that at the end of the season for that lap of honour? No, would it not? I don't feel as if the fight has always been there throughout the year.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. We have got a live roving report, by the way, down on Leeds Road. Ben has seen David Wagner checking out of Leeds Road. So yeah, cheers, Ben. If you keep us updated throughout the show, mate. If you get a little chat with David, please do send the audio through. That'd be great. Okay, so we've also got Captain Cisco. Hopefully, the new manager will be announced soon. Yes, I'm sure we'll get onto that chat in a bit. Ian, who's a regular supporter of the show, thanks, Ian. He watches pretty much everything that we do, and really appreciate you. You commenting, Ian, on the Town Talk show. Matty Pearson to Bradford. I'm sure we'll come on to individuals when we go down the list in just a second, but. Yeah, Matty Pearson has been linked with Bradford City. He was before, if you remember, was it last summer or maybe in one of the January transfer windows that Bradford were keen and interested, but obviously they were in League Two at the time. They're now in the same division, in what Leeds fans are describing as the cup final of cup finals. I'm not sure how we're seeing that, but there we are. So let's get on to the individual list of players. And yeah, let's bring up this lovely graphic which I have created today. Let me. That's not the right one. That is the right one. And here is the graphic of how we have voted for each player. So we'll go down the list. First of all, obviously, I've given my scores last week, and I gave my reasons, but Lee Nichols, I gave a 5. Kane, you've given him also a 5, and Cal a 4. Kane, Lee Nichols this season, how do you think he's done overall?
Yeah, average. Number 5 is average for me. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think he's been great. He does offer you a lot of experience, a lot of leadership back there. Pulls off some great saves. I know we've spoke about his distribution at times, but I don't think it's been that much of an issue as his distribution. I think it's what he's been asked to do is what you've got to look at. A lot of the complaints, especially on here, is he's not getting rid of it quick enough. Maybe he's not being told to, or he's aiming for a certain one. Maybe he's being told to do that. I just think it was a very average season from Lee Nichols. Again, didn't put too many feet wrong, and hasn't been world class either.
Yeah. Callum, you've given a 4, just below average.
Just checking, sort of cross-referencing all the way down that list, I appear to have been the harshest and most horrible to most, if not all, the players. So I'll take that crown.
Disgraceful.
Quite happily. Did anyone expect anything less? But yeah, Lee Nichols 4 for me, because 5 is a little bit too nice. And for me, his main responsibilities as a goalkeeper would be shot stopping and distribution. And his distribution has been horrific. And his shot stopping, not much better either. I don't have the graphic to hand, but there's somebody's made a graphic of points per game when Nichols has been playing versus when Chapman was in goal. Granted, I've only given Chapman a 5 because I don't think any team that finished in our position after the fall off that we've had post Christmas can say that they've got a good goalkeeping department.
Yeah,
but the difference between them is quite high in terms of points per game. And I know that Chapman was in goal for quite a lot of the sort of early Duff era, the unbeaten run, etc. But maybe that was a reason why. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Chris Maxwell, I've given 3. Kane's given a 3. Callum's given a 2. He'll probably be remembered, Kane, for the Tamworth defeat this season when he scored the unfortunate own goal.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say anything else.
It's Tonksies too.
Callum?
Is there?
No, but no, he's been injured, and also he's the third choice keeper. So, yeah, Callum.
Hold on a minute. He wasn't the third choice keeper. Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Cal. He wasn't the third choice keeper. He just wasn't good enough. He came in as a second choice and wasn't good enough. Made a mistake against Tamworth, which was horrendous.
Horrendous.
And then has been, back to retire. He came in and hasn't really done his job. He was supposed to be the backup. Wasn't good enough to do that. So again, that's why you can look at the score and put it as a 3. Never mind just that mistake. He's lost his backup jersey to a young goalkeeper coming through.
Moving on to the young goalkeeper, Jacob Chapman, I've given a 6. Kane, you've given a 5, and Cal, you've given a 5. Are we all sort of in agreement that obviously, Lee Nichols is still in contract, but I would argue that Chapman should be, really fighting for that number 1 jersey at the start of next season. Cal,
I don't like either of them. I think if we're
this is going to be a long list, mate.
If we're going to change the squad, then keep Chapman as a backup and get rid of Nichols for me. I don't think Chapman's good enough to step into the first team. I don't think that Nichols adds anywhere near the leadership that people say that he does, because all I saw, specifically in the last games, was his distribution's terrible. They get the ball back, whoever we're playing, they'll end up scoring, and then somebody like Hoggy or Pearson will turn around and have a right go at him, and he just has a right go back. That's not leadership.
But on Chapman specifically, do you think he's would you say 5 is a fair score and reflection of?
Yeah,
I've given a 6. I think he's been slightly better than Nichols, but he has made some errors.
He's made some errors. I can't fault his application, but he's just not there yet in terms of his experience and his quality.
Ken?
I don't think he commands a box as well as he should yet. And also his shot stopping is not there for me. Distribution is fantastic, but overall that's why I put him at 5. It's not a complete package. I'd still rather have Lee Nichols in goal at the moment.
Okay. Would you both
so much of that clip.
do just in a 1-word answer, yes or no? Do you think that we should have we should get in a new goalkeeper, buy one in? Callum?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Lasse Sorensen, I've given a 5, 5 and a 4. Yeah, a bit of a disappointment is Lasse, I think. A promising player that could have showed more than what he has done. Kane.
Yeah, but I thought he started the season really well, really bright. He looks a really good player, but then you get 2 injuries for a player who's never had injuries before. You lose all your confidence, and then you just get shouted at all the time if you do something wrong. The lad's absolutely shot.
Yeah,
I feel as if he hadn't had them injuries, he'd have probably been at a 7. But he's come back low in confidence anyway, and somehow couldn't get in the team over Ollie Turton. And I think again that is down to his confidence and being shouted at any time he does something wrong. I just think it's taken its toll on him, and that's why for me average. But I think when he's got the ball at his feet, he can get round a man in a good area, and he likes to whip the ball in. He just stopped doing that towards the back end of the season when he come back from injury.
Yeah, I think the frustration, Cal, is that we all probably know that there is a player in there.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a player in there. There's a good player in there. And I think mine may be a little harsh considering that, yeah, we can only judge on what's put in front of us, but we have for a long time this season been forcing him to play in a position that's not been familiar to him for his entire career. It's a square peg in a round hole scenario. So it's new territory for him in a melting pot of a season. Injuries that he's not had to contend with before. The lad's had a howler of a season through almost no fault of his own, but then he's not helped himself either. So for me, there is a player in there, but this season that player has not been there.
Josh Ruffles, I've given a 4. Kane, you've given a 5, and Cal, you've given a 3. Steady player, reliable, worthy said how good he is behind the scenes. Obviously, Warnock giving the new contract. I don't think there's anything exciting about Ruffles, but he just does a bit of a steady job. But you can't give him, for me, more than a 4 in my scoreline. But I know, Kane, you've given him a 5.
Yeah, he's not really put a foot wrong when he's played. Okay, there was that mistake a few weeks ago, but it's a simple mistake. Apart from that, he's had to bide his time to play. He's not been sharp enough when he's played because he's not had the game time. He turns up week in, week out, supports the lads. I think he's been quite hard done by at times. You've had Brodie Spencer playing left back. It was a right back. And Ruffles sat there watching. And again, I don't think he's played bad when he's played. I thought when he's been into centre half a couple of times, it were brilliant. One of the better players on park. So for me, that's why he's just been average. He's just an average number 5 for me because I've not seen too much of him. But when he's been out there, he's not done too much wrong.
Callum?
And for me, that's where the problem lies. And that's the reason why he's on the release list. We've not seen too much of him. But when we've seen him, he's not done too much wrong. Now, for me, if you're fighting for that shirt, and obviously if he's anything like the player that he was under Corberan, and I don't like looking back in time because Town fans tend to do a lot of that, and I think we could all be better served by not doing quite so much as that. But I think it's almost a different player that you're looking at. Comparing them two is like chalk and cheese because his confidence is lower, which is going to be after having the time that he's had at this football club. Everybody that comes through the door will have their confidence shot to bits by the time they walk out the door. At the moment, it's just such is the way of the results in the football club. However, I just don't think for me that player that with the tenacity that he once had is still in there.
No, fair enough. Matt Pearson, I've given a 5 for Kane, and 4 for Cal. Obviously, Ian, you've said about the Bradford City rumours. I think, for me, it was time for Matty to leave. Good centre-back, but it showed against Leyton Orient how slow he is. And, he's not the best on the ball. And, yes, he wins headers and scores some goals, not as many as Hellick, but, he scored some really important goals over the years. But I think it's time for him to leave and a fresh challenge, and he'd be a good centre-back at Bradford City. Head it, sort of do everything that they would need him to do to stay in the division. Callum, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah. It's a solid centre-back. Again, nowhere near where he has been. And his attitude is shocking. Which I am led to believe is unlike him, which confuses me slightly as to whether there's been some goings on behind the scenes or whatever. It would not surprise me. But his attitude are way off where we've seen before. Way off. And I find it poor form that somebody that's supposed to be the anchor in this team, one of the more experienced lads. Do you remember a while ago when Duff first got there and he said that he'd formed the leadership group?
Yeah.
Was he not one of the players in it?
Yeah, Medley.
Yeah, I don't really understand the logic of that. However, that shows you that he was looked on to be one of the more experienced lads in the team. That is a fact. And to be behaving in the way that he's behaved with shooting down the tunnel and you know, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he did he walk around the pitch after Leighton Orient? Because I saw him go down the tunnel, but I don't know whether he came back out.
I can't, to be honest, I can't remember because we sort of walked away just as the players sort of half past us because I couldn't be bothered with like I wanted to see the reaction, but yeah, I can't remember. Kane, can you remember? I don't know.
I'm only watching Hog. Trying not to cry.
I mean, and as for the rumours about Bradford, you know, he'd be a right player for them. It fit really well into that side, and he has been studying for his coaching badges, but he's told the Yorkshire Post last month that he's not ready to retire.
Kane, Matty Pearson, I know that you know you're one of his more admirers, aren't you?
Well, I will call him from the beginning of the year because he knew what he could do, and he did come in and he did start scoring goals like I said he would. But I think he's let himself down with his performances and what Carl said, his attitude as well towards this second half of the season. I get it when things aren't going for you, you kind of become quite selfish and want to look after number one. But as a footballer, there's fans that you do it for, and I think he forgot about that and he let it get into his performances, and that's why I've got him at 5.
We move on to Mikael Miller. The first sort of discrepancy probably in this, the scores have been sort of even up to now. I give Mikael Miller a 5. You've given him a 7, Kane, and Cal, you've given him a 4. I think, and I said this last week, Mikael Miller would have been higher if it hadn't been for all the injuries. I really like him. I think he's one of our best players, to be honest. And it would have been a 7, possibly even an 8 if he'd have kept injury-free. Kane, go with you on this one first.
Well, there you go. You're talking about performance when he's played. You can't help him being injured. You know, you've got to look at other people for that. But when he's played, he's been good. You know, again, he's been bright. You look at him when he came back into the side last few games of the year, or the season, sorry. He was fantastic. Took the ball from the byline, took it up to the halfway line, found a pass, went back, work hard, did that all throughout the season when he did play. Sometimes you got to take injuries out of it, you know, because if you're looking at injuries as well, pretty much every single player on there will be a 3 because they've all been injured.
Yeah, I know. That's why I did the list.
Well, yeah, exactly. But for me, I thought he played pretty well whenever I've seen him play.
Cal, 4, a bit harsh maybe, mate?
Yeah, maybe, but also maybe not, because...
Thanks for that.
That's all right. Yeah, he's one of our better players for me, but it's almost like we got to a point where either we stopped playing the way that he is suited to, and he couldn't change to sort of fit that, and therefore became just another part of this machine that doesn't ultimately do the job that it's supposed to do, or he sort of dropped off slightly. Now, I don't believe that he did, showing the attitude that he showed at the start of the season. I don't believe that he'll have dropped off quite as much as what we saw, or I saw, towards the end. I think it's a bit more of a Sorensen situation that we're asking him to do things that maybe he's not accustomed to doing. But why aren't we being as critical of him as we are with Sorensen?
Ken, why do you think we are?
Because even when Miller played, his performances have been good. When Sorensen's played, it hasn't. The performance hasn't been there for Sorensen this back end of the season. Miller's come back from injury.
Admittedly, we're asking one of them to play in a different position, but we're also asking the other one to play a different system to what he was brought in to do.
I think that most of these players have been brought in to do a system that they can't do. I think look at the system was poor, was really poor, and again you can look at the system what it was before Miller got injured and after he got injured. It was still decent either time. In fact, I thought it looked better into this new system we were into. But essentially, for me, I still thought when he played, he looked good.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Let's move on to Brodie Spencer. I gave a 6. Ken, you gave a 7. And Cal, you gave a 6.
My
Probably
highest.
one of the your highest. Yeah, probably one of the most higher rated players in this list. I mean, I gave Brody a 6 on the fact that you can tell he's. I know that we've just spoke about that some of the a lot of the squad didn't show like they cared, but I think Brody is a young player that obviously does care, put effort in, loves a tackle. Sometimes gets it a bit wrong. But for me, Callum, one of the more bright sparks coming out of this, what is a terrible season.
Absolutely. Every time I've seen him, I've thought he's the most glaring example of somebody that's a cut above the rest of the side, and you can tell because quite a lot of the time other players aren't on his wavelength, and he's sort of anticipating that they're going to do something that they don't do. So yeah, that's why I put him so high.
Yeah. Kane? I think.
Yeah, so for Brody, I don't feel like his head's been in this season. There was clearly some kind of move that he should have had in the summer, but it's not paid off, and that's why he was given a new contract. I think he's a great player, but we've seen him out of position. He's not been playing in his natural position. And for someone to do that and still be at a decent level like he has been all year is pretty impressive. I'm just really disappointed that he's not been where we want to see him. And I think he'd have probably been higher with a rating for everybody if he had been playing at right back all year in a decent system. But yet again, has he really wanted it this year? I don't think he's looked like he wanted like the season before. When he came back from Motherwell, he looked up for it. He looked fantastic. Whereas this season, I'm a bit of a. I don't think he's really that into it at the moment. It's just because it's his job and he wants to move. He's trying, but it's not even at the same kind of heart that it was the year before.
Yeah. Ollie Turton, 4 for me, 4 for you, Kane, 5 for Callum. A bit like Josh Ruffles, Cal, steady player, done a job. Probably right time for him to leave. Callum?
Oh, I just did a Steve. Sorry, lads.
You didn't do it for 6 minutes, though, so well
done. I don't think we've seen nearly enough of him, of the player that we thought we were getting from Blackpool, and that almost we were sold from Blackpool because of what he did over there. And the player that he was, but I've liked what I've seen in spells. I think he's versatile. However, I think it is time for him to go. I think leave the game before the game leaves you, Oliver.
Yeah,
and it's leaving him faster than his beard.
Ken?
I think I've been quite nice by giving him a 4. I don't rate him at all. I've never have done. I think he's been extremely lucky that he's been in contract with these injuries and he's had so long off. Yeah, great news he got his goal for Town this season, but what else has he done? Carl, I know you're saying he's versatile. They've had to put him in because there's been no one else there. I've never been a fan of him. He's been put in and he's tried to do a job, but even that job that he's done has not been good enough.
Because he's ginger, isn't it, you racist?
No, it's not, because I've got ginger skin, but I'm just disappointed with him. I didn't get the hype when we're calling him the Ginger Cafe, when it's, Turton can play. Why? His passing's poor, his touch is poor, his heading's poor. He's not League One. I think he'll go down to League Two. See Ben saying Ginger Cafe 21, 22 or something. No, he wasn't. He was poor then. I think he'll go down to League Two and be okay. Yeah, I still don't think that Ollie Turn can do a job in League One. I never thought he could do a job in the Championship. I thought he'd be a little bit better this year, but no. I think he's very lucky. Town have looked after him with his injuries and make sure he's had his rehab and all the surgery and stuff. And it is about time to stop paying his wages.
Oliver, if you are watching, we apologise for Kane's views. No, in terms of Nigel Lomvik, next, I've given him a 3. Kane, you gave him a 4. Callum, you give him a 5. Maybe not as harsh as what you might think these scores are, mate, because I think that's now 2 in a row where you've.
I did say this to you privately. Quite a lot of these scores are based on personal dislike over footballing ability. Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I'd say I've given him a 3 is because he's had the injuries. He looked slow. I think I expected a bit better off him. Maybe that's been too expectant since we've had some good loans over the years. But Kane, I know we've had sort of discussions along the way, with his performances and that. And, he's done some good stuff, but he's also done some not great stuff at the same time.
Has he?
I
can't remember many good stuff that he's done. Again, his touch is poor. His passing's horrendous. He only passes to the opposition. He gets underneath the ball, not over it, when he's heading. This lad.
Is, Nigel Longvite, not Lee Nichols, worrying about.
Oh, right, sorry. This lad's on loan from a Premier League club, and he's got a long way to go if he ever wants to get there. I know he's not listening, but he's never going to be a Premier League player the way he's been playing.
So you're not signing him?
He'll be lucky to be League One.
So you won't sign him on a permanent then?
No, not a chance. Not a chance. Honestly, the passing is really bad. Really bad.
Okay. Callum, you've given him a 5.
Yep. I have, mate, yeah. I've given him a 3 in terms of his ability, because I think Kane's absolutely right in everything that he said. I think his touch has been poor. I can't point to a single decent thing that he's done in a Town shirt. I think his pace isn't what we were told it was. However, I quite like his hair, and I've listened to him in a couple of interviews, and he sounds quite nice. So there's 2 extra points notched on there. Thank you. Good night.
That was Callum's bonus Brucey. Oh my God, bonus Brucey prize.
My Steve Brucey bonus there for you.
Yeah, cheers, Cal. Thank you very much. We'll move on quickly to Radinho Bolka. I've given a 4. Kane, you gave a 6. Cal, you gave a 4. Probably could have got a higher score, Cal, but too injury prone, made of glass.
Exactly my thoughts as well. And I appreciate what Kane says, that he can't really help it. And to be fair to him, I feel we rushed him back before he was ready. And that set him back quite a lot further than, we could have had him back, and he could have been a decent centre-back for us towards the end of the season. I think he'd have done a job. And that is on the medical department and the management team, whoever made that decision, not the player. But I also don't think that when he has played, we've seen enough of him. Again, we've seen enough of the player that was billed as this ridiculously pacey sort of player that we were going to get like the most out of, and he's going to be some sort of rocking defence and rocket up front. I just don't think we've seen it. Whether that's on our tactics, on our, whatever. I just don't think we've got his money's worth.
Yep. Ken?
Yeah, made a glass in it, poor lad. Definitely rushed back way too quickly. Shouldn't have been. But I generally think that there is a very, very good player there, and I've said that before. I actually thought when he did play, he looked good. A few missed passes, but you're going to get that when you're not sharp and you are still carrying knocks. He's strong, he's fast, he'll work hard, and I think he can bring that ball up from defence. Again, it's just a shame that he spent more time on with the physios than he has on the field.
Yeah. Ruben Ruskin, 5-8 from Kane, sorry. 4 from Cal. Kane, I mean, you've given him an 8. Again, I think the reason I've only given him a 5, very much like Miller, would have got better if he'd have been here throughout the whole season and didn't have that sort of mini injury period. But his performances overall have been really good, and I think he could be a standout player for us next season.
I think he's a brilliant. I think he's the best player technically in that team. I think he's absolutely fantastic. The lad came back from injury and we're playing left wing. He's a left back. This guy, he's a left back, and we're playing left wing and scored goals and were more creative, took more players on further forward than what your forwards have been doing. On the ball, he's brilliant, reads the game well, even out of position, and I think he's an absolutely superb left back. It's going to be real tough between him and Miller playing left back next year. If Ruskin don't go, if someone doesn't snap him up, because I'd be looking at him if I were in the Championship to play left back. Let's not forget when he came back from injury, probably came back too quickly as well, was injured, had his knee taped up for the rest of the season, and then got another injury. From what I've seen when he's played, fantastic. Again, shame he's been injured, just like pretty much everybody else.
Ben, he's not happy, Cal, that you've given Mr. Ruskin a 4.
Yep. No, I think you read that right. Give him a 4. Give him a 4 because he was
so harsh.
Yep, I am. Harsh but fair. The world's harsh. You know, I gave him a 4 because he, like all of the other players on this list, has been nowhere near good enough and nowhere near an 8, might I add. That is scandalous. That's nearly 10. That's nearly perfect. He has not been anywhere. It's so bad that Kane's had to leave. Poor lad. Oh, he's back. Oh, that's good. It's just nowhere near. He's not. Technically, he's probably one of the better players, but I'd technically be one of the better goal scorers in our team at the moment. And look at me. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that you know, he's some sort of terrible footballer, but he deserves no more than a 4, or I might stretch to a 5 because I quite like his name.
That's good of you, that.
But an 8, an 8. 8.
He's not happy with you, Ken. He's not happy with that.
Look, don't be happy with me, but look,
I'm not. Don't worry.
Football's about opinions, isn't it? And some of them have got a good one, and some of them have got a poor one. Right. Can we?
Okay, let's move on.
Some of us see quality players and look past injuries and watch what they actually do on the field. And some of us, if they don't like the rest, I'll give them more ratings.
Right.
Let's move on. 7.
Let's move on.
Give Mikel Miller a 7.
He played.
Let's move on to Tom Lees. Tom Lees 5 at 5 and Cow at 3. Steady performer, Kane. I've always liked Tom, but probably a bit like Matty. Probably right time for him to leave. But experienced player, never done out wrong in a Town shirt at all, really.
Yeah, again, just average. I felt as if he was very slow on the ball this year, which isn't what Town needed. Town needed pace and needed a quick tempo. And he kind of took this thing out of a lot of games. But, you know, a very steady, strong centre-half. But again, didn't set the season alight, and apart from just being a little bit slow on the ball, didn't really do too much wrong. So that's why I've got him as 5.
Cal?
The absolute audacity to say that any player on this list hasn't done anything wrong in a Town shirt. Come on.
How many mess-ups has Tom Lees made?
I'm talking about his whole Town career, not just this season, Cal.
The whole Town career, he's been a decent player, and I've enjoyed watching him. He's been fairly solid. But this season, you know,
he's not made many mistakes this season, though, has he? Really,
he's not made many mistakes, but he's been part of a defensive unit that has been diabolical for the second part of the season.
He barely played second part here.
I don't agree with that.
Well, football's everyone's got an opinion in football, haven't they? And some are right and some are wrong.
Hellick played more than Tom Lees in the second half of the season, and he were off in January.
Yeah, I'm hanging him for Oxford.
Right, okay. So let's move on.
Not get into that because my opinion on that will probably be wrong and all.
Right, okay. Let's move on to Johnny Hogg. 5, 6, and 4. Cow, Hoggy. I mean, we all probably could have given him a 9 for his legendary status, but this season should have shouldn't have played maybe as much as he had to do, and again, like you've said, part of a losing team really. So I couldn't give him more than a 5.
And for me, to take nothing away from what he's given to this football club, because he's given almost his entire career to this football club. We had his best years, and I think because of that, the drop off has been quite noticeable. And for me, this season's been the most noticeable drop off we've seen. And I know he's not played week in, week out, but I just don't think physically he's anywhere near what he was. And I don't think tactically he's anywhere near what he was. I think the game's sort of coming away from him now. And physically, he just doesn't have it in him anymore. It's the right time to hang the boots up for him if that's what he chooses to do. Because actually he's not said that he's retiring from football. So, but for me, hanging the boots up would be the right thing for him at this level. I think he might be able to drop down a couple of leagues and do a job for a year or so, but physically, I don't think he's there anymore.
Kane, do you think he'll carry on, or do you think he'll stay with the club in some capacity? He did meet Kevin Nagle last week at the stadium. Obviously, he has been put on the list as being released, but do you think he might come back in a coaching capacity of maybe some sort? I know he hasn't done his badges yet, has he? But
I think he can play. I think he can still play for another year or two. I think he's probably got another year in League One at a lower team. Find himself in League Two if he wants. That I know Cal's got his hands on his head, but Hoggy's probably the fittest player in that squad.
Be a good signing for Bradford.
We realise that we are one of the lower teams.
Well,
be a good signing for Bradford, I think. A bit like Matty Pearson.
Yeah, maybe. It depends. It depends how much of Bradford you've watched and what they play. But
I think he has to fit into a very particular system.
Yeah,
he's
right.
At this point in his career, has to fit into a very particular system where it's not necessarily played through him.
Yeah.
And he has to sort of sit there and be almost like a pivot between midfield and attack.
Yeah, and he's a fantastic battler. He'll work hard, work your socks off, and like I say, he's probably one of the fittest players in that Huddersfield Town team. He's dropped off. His passing's a little bit there, and he gets very frustrated with other players, and I don't think you're going to take that out of him. But he's the kind of player. It reminds me. I mean, don't remind me of. Peter Clark played till he was 40. So could Hogg because he's that fit. I generally think he's that. Look, physically, he's in great shape. He looks after himself. Some of the others don't. And Blue Terry just said, could see Hogg at Harrogate. Yeah, it's only down the road from Bury. He's been travelling from Bury. So, something like that, it'd be absolutely sound. He'd love it because I don't think the guy wants to stop playing football. I think he's good. The fact he's not got another contract at Town. I can understand why he doesn't, because yes, okay, he's probably the fittest player there, but ability-wise, the passing-wise, it's just losing a bit, and he's had a lot of negatives while being at Town, as much as the positives that he's had has been fantastic. Seeing the club go downhill, and sometimes it takes a bit of toll on yourself as well, and you get frustrated when you've played in the Premier League with Aaron Moy, with Christopher Schindler, and then you're playing with Freddie Ladapo and Nigel Lomvik and Ollie Turton. It can be very frustrating.
But it's buzzing that you're playing with Ruben Ruskin now.
Yeah, I would be. I'd love to play with Ruben.
Generational ball.
Okay, let's move on. Ben Wiles, 3, 6 for Kane, 4 for Cal. I think it's been a disappointing season for Ben. I think this was the season that he could have really taken his career and shown why he could have been a top League One player. I'm not saying he still can't be, but and he has scored, a few goals this season, but it's too inconsistent for me. And a player of that nature needs to be showing why he should be the best in the league. Kane, you've given him a 6, so we'll start with you.
Yeah, I've given him a 6 because I'm very disappointed in his performance and his consistency throughout the year. But at the end of the day, he has put ball in the back of the net a good few times, plenty of assists as well. It's just that consistency that we've lacked from him. When he has performed, he's been great. the other times when we've not seen him, it's obviously been very disappointing. But again, you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net and set everybody else up. And I think at times he's done that fairly well. So that's why I put him at 6.
Count.
I've put him at a 4 for the very same reasons.
Cool. Herbie Kane, 3, 5, and 4. Again, for me, bought him from Barnsley. I know he came on a free, I think. Followed Duff. But injury prone, not being consistent, should be the best or one of the better players in this division for a midfield player. Kane, go with you again, 5 for this one.
Yeah, just average. Okay, he's been injured, but he's moved the ball quite nice. He picked up some nice positions. Again, he's not done too much wrong, but he's not set as a light either. Maybe on reflection, seeing your 2 scores, I think 3 is harsh, 4 is probably right. I think I've been quite kind to Herbie Kane there, but I think he's got a nice touch, got a nice pass. I think he needs a better system. I don't think the system suited him very well, so I think I've been quite nice there.
And he needs to be fit. Cal?
Yeah, Steve, you've been well harsh there. I can't believe you've given him a 3. Yeah, for me, he's just not. He's not at it, and we have seen him at it. But I think it encapsulated for me his sort of drop off when he tried to prevent Leyton Orient from breaking on the counter attack by putting in some sort of WWE spear move that just missed completely, and he were left sprawling in a heap on the floor, and Leyton Orient countered down the field and scored for what was their 3rd or 4th, I can't remember.
4th.
4th, there you go.
Yeah. Right, David Kasumu, 4, 8, and 4. Okay, so Kane, 8. Why?
Yeah, I think he's been brilliant for Town, to be fair. The way he started the season, added goals. This year, something we've not really seen of him. He's normally just hanging around the back, doing up all the clean-up duty. Fantastic engine on him. Obviously, second half of the season, after he's been injured, he's come back and been put at right back, right wing, not played through the middle. And I think it's been quite tough on him. I think there was a period of time when he was out, was it around Christmas time, and a lot of people were saying that David Kasumu was a massive miss in the midfield, and he was. It was a massive miss in the midfield. I think it's probably one of his best seasons that he's had in a Town shirt.
Cal?
Nope.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, David Kasumu was a massive miss when he was injured, and then he came back and was a completely different player. And maybe he wasn't such a miss as the player that it was before he was injured. I agree that I was one of those Town fans that were saying David Kasumu is a massive miss in this midfield, and he came back, and that wasn't the David Kasumu that was the massive miss.
No, it wasn't.
It was a different player.
Yeah.
I thought he's been on sort of a steady decline, and his passing's been laboured. And quite often to the opposition, and I know a lot of people in this list are guilty of that. We tend to do a lot of that, giving up possession very easily. But I thought he'd been laboured on the ball, almost lacking the confidence to go and be that player that he was before he was injured. And that's why I've given him what I've given him, because it just wasn't there for me. But if he'd have come back from that injury the same player that he was when he got injured, it'd have been much higher.
I think you're right, though, Carl. I think he lacked that confidence when he came back after his injury. I think the injuries has killed a lot of players' confidence this year.
Like
Guns have gone silent. There is peace at last.
Like Anthony Evans, 3, 5, and 3. Bit like Ben Wiles. We bought him from Bristol Rovers. He was one of the best players in League One last year. We bought Bristol Rovers, or we were thinking about buying their best player. He's had this weird toe injury going on, Cal, but for me, too inconsistent, not played to his ability, and therefore I've maybe been asked, but I've given him a 3.
Yeah, I think it's the same story with a lot of players on this list. You know, when he scored at Wickham first game of the season, I thought, Christ, we've got some player here. This is going to be a superb season, and he's going to be instrumental in most, if not all of it. And you know, for a fair few games, he was, and then just tailed off like the rest of them as that confidence drained away. So did the ability.
Okay.
I think, and yeah, with the injury, just poor.
Yeah, playing with injury, it's been tough for him. You know, I think when he has played, he's worked hard, and he's probably not played the role that he's wanted to. I think he wants to play a little bit further forward in the midfield, but has had to do the doggy work and come back too, and he has put his body about. When you're hampered with an injury, a weird injury, which I also believe is a bit of a conspiracy thing that he didn't want to play, and he's had a fallout, but he's been given an injury to make it look like it's something else, which we've seen before. Yeah, probably disappointing, but again, I think he's tried a little bit when he's been there. He has got wicked delivery on him, which has been nice to see when he has played. Has a bit of bite in midfield, which I think they've lacked over the last couple of years. I think they've been soft. I just hope he gets this toe injury sorted out for next year.
Tawanda Churea, I've given him a 3. Ken, you've given a 2. And Cal, I think you've given him a 4. I'll be honest, I think he's quite an easy one, this. Not good enough for me. Runs down, I'm going to say, blind alleys. And just, he's not a player I would have back. Okay, Cal, you've given him a 4.
Yeah, I just think we made a mistake there because he's a young player that's not ready or wasn't ready to come into this sort of environment.
Yeah.
This sort of a team where he can't learn on the job. He had to come in and be ready to do what he was needed to do, and I don't think he's got the skill set or the experience to do that job. However, that's not his fault. We knew what we were signing when we signed on loan a young player from. I think he's also from Wolves, isn't he?
Yeah, they're all from Wolves.
Yeah, we
Except
knew
for
what we were
Marshall.
doing when we signed a player that young on loan. Yet we persisted to do it anyway when it wasn't what we needed. That isn't his fault.
No.
I know he's not been good enough, but he's never going to be good enough playing in this environment, in this team, when we're asking him to do things that he's not ready to do yet. He's not had enough experience as a footballer to do those things.
Ken, your lowest score, I think.
Yeah. Well, second lowest.
But second lowest.
Shocking. I mean, as Carl said, we're all looking on deadline day going, bring in a centre-half. Oh, we brought in an attacking midfielder. Why? So, first of all, why was he even brought in? 2, he doesn't like to head the ball. He's soft. He doesn't like a challenge. He feints too many times. He pretends to cross it. Then he pretends to cross it again. Then he pretends to cross it again. And then it's a poor cross. Don't beat the first man. Just a waste of time. Absolute waste of time. All of it. You know, I get what Carl's saying. He's young. He's coming into a poor environment. Don't care how old you are. If you're good enough, you're good enough, and he's not. Again, another one, a bit like Longvic. You know, here at a Premier League club, won't last long there if you continue playing like that. You know, this was a fantastic opportunity for him to come in and show something about him, like another lone player has done that we're going to come on to. But he did absolutely nothing for himself. And I think that showed when Worthington took over and he was dropped to the bench and we didn't see him again.
Tom, your Pender, obviously young lad from the academy. 3 for me, 5 for you, Ken, 3 for you, Cal. I thought we might have seen him in a bit more throughout the season. Played a lot of games in pre-season, but it just didn't really happen for him. Apparently, he had a bit of a back injury, I think it was. And yeah, you know, even in the back end, we were there. I thought we'd have seen him a little bit more, but we haven't, so I couldn't give him more than a 3. There is obviously a talented player there, Kane, but just not seeing enough of him.
Yeah, I think there's a talent player there. See, when I've not seen, for me, it's like a 5 because I've not seen him do anything wrong. I've not seen him do anything good either. His back injuries coming. The problem is because he's so young, he's growing, and he's probably grown quick, and he's probably grown too quick for his back. Hopefully he'll get that sorted out throughout the pre-season. Which he probably won't because he's still growing as a young lad. But I think there's a player in there. I thought when he has played, he's looked okay. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's been minimum time on the field, but it's hard to judge someone like him and like Neo Eccleston as well. It's hard to judge that kind of player too.
Well, the only reason I put Pender on the list is because he actually made, I think it was 5 or 6 appearances. Eccleston's only made 2, so I thought that it was harsh. Cal, same as me, really. Your thoughts on Pender?
Yeah, same as you. Again, I've not seen enough of him. I'm not seeing so much of him, but we know decent things from his time at the academy, and we've seen the quickest of flashes. So same reasons as you. I quite like his dreadlocks.
Joe Hodge, I've given a 3 as well because I've given all the Wolves lads a 3. I don't think they've added anything really to us this season. Cal, you've given a 5, and Cal, you give a 3, and Kane, you give a 5. Kane, I know he's a player that you like.
Yeah, I think probably one of the only players on loan from Wolves that I think has got some ability about him. Premier League, he's got a way to go. Obviously, he's quite small, but
a long way to go.
Yeah, but it's not as far away as it is for the others. I will agree with that. I do think he's a talented player. I think he's been a bit passive at times throughout the year. Where a lot of stuff being said in here about him going sideways and backwards. I would agree. But I also think there was a lot of pressure on him from the start that he's got to come in and perform, and asking a lot of pressure from a young lad. I don't think when he's played, I don't think he's been too bad. He's not been too great either. He's the one of the loanees from Wolves that I think will have a better chance of playing Championship Premier League.
Cal?
Yeah, just not good enough.
Yeah. Callum Marshall 7 for me, 8 for you, Kane, 5 for you, Cal. Come to Cal first on this 5.
Absolutely my most contentious number. I'm fully aware of that because I like Callum Marshall. I like what he does. He's been good for us. He's done yeah, exactly. But ultimately, he has done what he was brought in to do. It's a 5.
Okay, Kane, I'm more, I think, on your level on this, where 7 and you've given him an 8. He's my highest score, I think, for a young kid, 18 from West Ham, to come and be our best player of the season, won the Blue and White Foundation's Player of the Year. I think he won the Hargreaves Memorial Trophy winner as well. I mean, just shows the sort of character that he's had now. And I'll be honest, he's the only loan lad that I would think about possibly signing, but I don't think that'll happen anyway. Yeah, your thoughts on Marshall?
Yeah, his awards speak for themselves, don't he? He's come in, he's put his body about, he's worked hard for the club, scored some goals, got some assists, and you can see that he's passionate about it. You hear everything about him. He's always playing. He's literally there before training. He's there after training. He's always got a ball at his feet. He just wants to play football. I think you can see that with his attitude when he's had the shirt on, being on the field. Goals speak for themselves. The awards speak for themselves. Really impressed with him. Premier League quality, I don't know. It's going to take him a lot more work to do, but he's willing to graft, and that goes a long way in any team.
Would you have him back, Ken?
I think I'd have him back as a loan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sign him. You don't want to bring him down to that level, do you? You want to give him the opportunity to flourish somewhere else.
Yeah. Callum, would you sign him?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't disagree with anything that you've said there. The reason he got what he got from me was that he was brought in as a striker to score goals. He scored goals. He does what he says on the tin, I like him as a player. I think he's been our best player this season by a country mile. So the awards are well merited. I'd have him back on loan, but there's no way that West Ham would let him go permanently because they keep a close eye on his development. West Ham fans keep a close eye on his development as well, and you can see that they are very excited about him, as they should be for the future. Like Kane says, a long while to go, but I think out of everyone that we've got on loan from a Premier League team, he's probably the closest that there is to making that step, and he's keen.
Yeah, I agree. Josh Croma 5, and you've both given him a 4. It's just time to leave the football club. He's been here, 6 seasons, 6 years, 7 seasons, I think. Just time to leave. I mean, too inconsistent. Scored goals. Don't get me wrong. Scored some goals this season, not to the level that we need. And I think you might put me right on this, but I'm sure he's only got 2 assists this season. And for a wide player to only have 2 assists, it's not a good number. Kane, go with you on this one first.
He's also not been playing wide. He's not played in position until Worthington came in.
No,
that's why I've given him a 4. Otherwise, he probably would have been a lot lower. Because he's not played in position. He has scored a few goals. He's had to play a left wing back. He's had to play a central strike, and we all know he's a left winger. He's a Leyton Orient lad. He's helped them get playoffs at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That was probably a little bit too harsh, but look, I've never really been a fan of him. I think 4's about right because he doesn't want to work for you. As Ben's just said, his one-trick pony is so predictable. Yeah, he's going to run down the left-hand side, put it onto his right foot, then fake to go on his left, then put it back onto his right foot and try and bend it round into the far post. He's going to do that every time. You just know it. You know he's going to do that every time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Again, I think he's another player low on confidence.
Yeah.
But playing out of position, grabbed a few goals. When he played left winger back, I actually thought he played better at left wing back than he did striker.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cal, 4 for you?
Yeah, like you said, time to leave the football club. Done okay in spells, but nowhere near the player that he's been. And he didn't even muster the Josh Koroma end of season new contract form spell that we know.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He mustered that at the end of this season, so that speaks volumes for what we're on this year. But just another one that if we're going to reset this squad, one that probably needs to go is carrying too much baggage from previous managers, previous regimes. Just time to hit the reset button. I think for us as well as him, it'll do him well as a footballer.
Reece Healy 1 for me, 5 for you, Kane, 3 for you, Cal. I might be harsh in this one, but there's a player there if he wasn't injured, but he's like Bolker, he's made of glass. Cal, come to you first.
Yeah, I don't rate him at all. I just don't. I've not seen much.
3, though.
What, I'll give him a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a player in there somewhere. Not that we've seen it. It's hard, isn't it? Because I've given him a 3, but ultimately, that's probably quite nice.
Game's giving him a 5.
I know, I'm impressed there, but I suspect that's probably because
we can't count injuries.
I'll let Kane finish it, but he's not done what I wanted him to, and I've not seen enough of him.
Kane?
Yeah, I don't think any of us seen enough of him, which is disappointing. But when he has played, he's tried to hold up the ball. He's challenged for balls in the air. He's got in the right positions at the right times. It's just one of them when you've not seen him. And it's been tough for him on one of the reasons why he's getting his injuries is because he's sprinting to get where he wants to be because he's trying to work for it. He probably just needs to rethink how he plays after all these injuries now.
Dion Charles, 3s across the board. I think it's the first one that we've all agreed on, maybe. Kane, I'll come to you first. 3 on Dion Charles.
Yeah, he's not really done a lot, has he, since he come in. I think he's struggled to get a shot on target. All this talk about how good he's going to be. He's worked hard a few times. I think he had a goal line clearance a few weeks ago, which were superb. But apart from that, he's too busy battling with the centre arse and forgets about the game itself.
Cal?
Also, this a bit on what Cal has to say. That headband, I don't know why he needs it.
Okay. Cal?
It's a 3-1 because of the headband. 2, because he's just not as good a footballer as he was and has been at Bolton. And he's not the player that we signed.
The headband is not on Alan Lee's level, is it? Let's be honest.
We're getting into decent headwear, Effie Sodgy territory against all odds. But yeah, he's been poor, and also Blackpool away. Need I say more? Thank you.
Cool. So let's go now to. I don't know why I put 19 on next to Freddie Ladapo's name, but Freddie Ladapo put 2, and you guys have put 1. I probably should have put a 1, but he's given me some comical moments of the season. I'm not going to lie. In a season where
we've generated those comical moments, he's given absolutely nothing.
No, but in a season where it's been horrific, I particularly liked the moment where he tried to bring the ball down and he ran with it for about 9 yards and then left it behind, and he's as he was running, the ball had stopped and he carried on running and he thought he still had possession of the football. It's one of the most funniest things I've ever seen on a football pitch, but there we are. Kane, 1 for you. Anything to say on him?
What a waste of money. It's just been.
We were just tracking him for one whole summer.
Yeah, dreadful, awful, really, really, really bad decision. Awful touch. Can't hit a ball. Runs like he's kicked himself. It's just horrendous.
I know that we shouldn't say this, right? Because we don't want to personalise it, but he's
going to say it anyway. The season's over, baby.
Well, he's still in contract, but he's possibly the worst striker I've seen at Town in my time spot, and that's worse than Ishmael Miller, by the way, who did score some goals. Callum, you've given him a 1. Anything to add?
I would happily. The fact that we've kept it suggests that we're trying to sell him, which is insane. I would happily, if I could scrape together through friends and colleagues the money to release him, I would happily do it. He offers nothing, and when has been given the chance, has been awful. It's not like we can't sit here and say he hasn't been given the opportunity, because he has. It's been awful.
I think he's going to have a cracking pre-season and get 15 goals next year. Joe Taylor 4, 3 and 3 for you guys. The reason I give him a 4 was for the excitement of Blackpool and the goal that he got, but it could have been 3. I just think there is a player there. I think he's got very frustrated at the end of the season and probably needs to come back after the summer. And the move's not worked out as he would have hoped, but I think he's going to be a massive player for us next season. Kane, start with you on that one.
You're disappointing again, like Dion Charles, but at least Taylor grabbed a couple of goals. Absolutely lost his head the back end of the year. Very frustrated. Yeah. Poor decisions that he's not been sent off for that he probably should have been. And then he did that interview at the end of the season, which said that there's been no identity, no real plan, and they need that for the upcoming season. So I've been saying as well for quite a while, and I agree with him. And same as you, Steve, I think he could be a great player for Town next season. But what we looked at this year was a young lad who's been frustrated because he's come in on big money, got injured, had centre-backs in his ear because he's dropped down a league and someone's paid $3 million for him. He had to do better, and he didn't. He didn't like it. He didn't like people in his ear. So he's got a long way to go. He's got to get a bit of thick skin for next season.
Cal?
I agree. I've given him a point per million.
I like that. That's the best one you've done so far.
Point per million. I think he's going to have a horrific meltdown when he walks into Canalside first day of pre-season, and Rob Edwards is taking the first training session. It's going to be horrendous. But there is a player in there, and I want to see more of him, because when he's been on form, he's looked like the £3 million player that we signed. Unfortunately, he's not been on form enough, and I also think a lot of the times he gets frustrated because he's trying to do things that the team around him can't do or are unsure on how to do. So if we can refine that in pre-season, or get some players in that sort of are on his wavelength, we've got a decent striker there.
I think you're right there, Cal. A lot of the time I've seen him pressing, and there's nobody pressing with him, and then he looks around and he goes, "Where are you all?" And he does do so much running, but yeah, and he also doesn't need a headband to do it. So let's move on.
I'm not sure about them.
Let's move on to Danny Ward. We've all given him a 1. There's only one Danny Ward. That's what we're all symbolising from that. Thanks, Danny, for the memories. But it's time to probably hang up your boots in it, son. Cal?
Headband. That's all I'll say. Headband.
And your headband. Kane?
He's offered nothing for years. Can't hold up the ball.
Right.
Can't hit the ball. He's much better as a left winger. A right winger, so can cut on into his left foot. Said that for ages, but wants to play through the middle. Can't do it. Gets injured. Another waste of money. Oh, wait a minute.
Really sad was that
Warnock my score's a little bit low. Warnock likes him. I should have put him a 9. And then we should give him a contract.
I liked that we brought in Jordan Rhodes to try and compliment him, and Jordan Rhodes just went on to be better than him.
Well, we kept the wrong one, didn't we? Really, we should have kept Jordan and not kept Danny, but there we are. Lastly, Bojan Radovojevic, I give a 3. Kane, you give a 5, because we all know that you are part of his fan club, and Callum, you give him a 1. Callum,
because I'm part of his hate club.
Bit harsh, Cal, giving him a 1.
What has he offered?
More than, well, you've given him the same as Freddie Ladapo, so I think he's offered slightly more than Freddie. He has scored in the Town
he's
shirt.
Offered more in that he's played more, but he's not been any better when he's been on the pitch.
He scored though.
Once.
Does that make it more than what Freddie's done? I'm trying here, Kane, for
you. Absolutely it does. It 100% does.
Right, so we're switching it up to a 2, yeah, Cal?
No.
Okay. Kane, take it away.
I think he was soft at the beginning of the year, really soft. Didn't want to be in a challenge, and then probably had a word in his ear or realised that he's got to start being a little bit stronger. I thought his link-up play was actually pretty good. He was willing to come in and take ball at feet and find someone else, find another man. He did get into the area. I just thought the ball didn't land to him where it needed to be. And I think there's been, after a couple of games, after he realised that he needs to stop being so soft, he kind of used his body well because he was tall, won some headers. And like I say, I thought his link-up play was really good. I feel it as if, I know we're not, if Radulovic would have been in this system with Jonathan Worthington, would have been a lot better than he was in the system with Michael Duff. And I thought he did okay. I think he might have scored 2. He might have done, but I think he's probably been a better striker than anybody else this year.
Yeah,
apart from Marshall. Sorry.
Apart from Marshall. No, fair enough. Well, there are our scores. Thank you very much, lads, for going through all that and giving scores. If you do disagree with any of them, please put them in the comments after the video has gone. Let's just move on quickly to the return list. This is the return list for this season that was announced. Obviously, they're the names of the released, retired. Obviously, there's more than that for the release list. I haven't put all the B team players on. But there is actually 8. I think it's 19 players being released. And obviously, that's the squad that we've got left. And on loan, obviously.
On loan?
I've read that list wrong, but it's the on loans. They've gone back, and obviously from looking at this, obviously from Spencer No, Ben Wow's down. That's our squad. I don't know what's happened with that list. Anyway, do we all agree with the retained list? Is there anybody on the retained list, Kane, that you would have kept?
Sorry, on the release list. On the release list, that would have kept.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
No.
Callum.
No.
No.
I'm not entirely sure who half of them are. Who's Anthony Gregory?
He's a young lad from in the academy, but yeah, you wouldn't have kept him.
He sounds
Fair
like
enough.
one of them non-playable characters on Pro Evolution Soccer. I used to get like 2005.
Right, let's go back to this. Oh, not that view.
It's the whoa,
It's too close, that.
whoa. Nobody knew that.
There we go. Right, let's get into the awards of the season. Moment of the season came for you.
The sale of Mihail Helik.
Okay. That's a negative one, but fair play. Callum, moment of the
I
season.
was thinking we're going to have a positive one. The sacking of Michael Duff.
Oh, wow. Okay. Moment of the season.
Was Hoggy's goal that wasn't Hoggy's goal at Blackpool? Was it?
Wasn't there?
No.
No, that was last. That's fine then. Sorry, I get confused with my awful seasons.
No. Moment of the season for me.
That old man that was shouting at the dugout. That was.
That was a good one. Yeah.
No, I think moment of the season for me has to be the defeat to Tamworth when I was sat in a bar in Spain, and it was just surreal that I had Spaniards around me cheering for Tamworth. Because they didn't understand the FA Cup. That was the moment for me.
You kick off.
Did it kick off? No, it was. I didn't kick off. No. Let's go to the next award, which was Player of the Season. Are we all saying Marshall?
For the sake of Ben HTFC 17, I'm saying Brodie Spencer.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, Marshall for me. Really liked his performance throughout the year. Just battled for everything.
Good. And the last award I get to pick, which is the Town Talk Pundit of the Season.
I've got a goal of the season. I thought we were doing goal of the season.
Oh, if you have got, okay, goal of the season.
He's just lost his Pundit of the Season award.
Go on.
Anthony Evans bolting away when the press was absolutely perfect. They forced Bolton into the mistake. That was when Town had a bit of confidence behind them. It was a great game. But the way all them Town players moved onto each player, onto the goalkeeper, was absolutely brilliant. I don't think I was looking through all the goals today and got to that one and thought, that's it. Because it's an easy finish for Anthony Evans, but it's about what the whole team has done there. And sometimes that's a lot better than a fantastic strike, which I also don't believe there's been a fantastic strike. I'm going, in fact, the best goal I've seen all year at the John Smiths was Kelechi Anderson's for Birmingham. But
that was a great goal.
That Anthony Evans goal against Bolton, you could just see the way the players all moved up together onto the next man, forced the error, and that was just absolutely superb.
Callum?
My goal of the season, as I didn't really think about this beforehand, I'm going to give my goal of the season to Josh Koroma against Leyton Orient at home. Final game of the season. And off his face.
Okay.
It gives me Hef Aston Villa away vibes.
But except for the fact that we got a positive result out of that game and we didn't at Leyton Orient. My goal of the season, I agree with you, Ken. That was probably the best teamwork goal, 100%. But I am going to go with Joe Taylor at Blackpool because just the style of the finish, the way that Evans crossed the ball, Taylor brought it down and then volleyed it in. I don't think there was a better goal technically by a Town player this season. Okay, so the big award that's coming up is the Town Talk Pundit of the Season. I know this is the one that you've all been waiting for. I have to say, I think due to his regularity on
give
the
it
show,
to Zach now. I'm going to smash this laptop.
the regularity on the show and the fact that he's brought up very many contentious debates this season with terms of style, formation, and he created a lovely graphic earlier on in the season, which was very word art-esque. It's given to Kane. So well done, mate. You've got Town Talk Pundit of the season. I know.
Thank you.
Callum fuming about that, but you are a very much appreciated member of the Town Talk Show, Callum. If you turn up a few more times next season, mate, you might get ahead of.
Whatever, I'm off to Still Smiling. See you later.
Basically,
takes that chance.
Okay, so
you've given it to me because I turn up every week.
No, I've just said about the quality of your artwork and also your debating. It's good. Right, let's move on very quickly because we have ran on a long time. And there has been
time here.
There has been a lot of discussion about the new manager. We haven't had an announcement on the director of football yet, or the new manager. There is a lot of rumours about David Wagner. Callum, do you think that the name of Wagner is skewing the whole conversation? There has been a name today of a Scottish Premiership manager that might be coming from Alan Nixon, the journalist. But what's your whole view on the fact that we still haven't got a director of football named and we still haven't got a manager named? Are you starting to get a bit worried?
Yeah, because this is not my point. Somebody else made this point. I think it was on Twitter the other day. I'm stealing it shamelessly from them. I don't know who it was, so I can't even credit them. But it's probably not why I've not won the award. But I'm not bitter. They said that every day that we don't have a director of football and every day that we don't have a manager named is another day wasted in this rebuild of a summer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I can't disagree with that, and we don't get many days between now and the start of pre-season to really get this right, and we really need to.
Ken?
Yes, they really need to get it right, so don't rush the decision either. I think it's quite clear that there's not been a plan in place for if things go wrong. So now it's about time to make sure you get the right ones and have that plan in place if it does go wrong again. So make sure the decision's right. Okay, yes, we can rush into a manager, you can rush into a sporting director or a director of football, whichever one you want it to be, however you want to call it, the decision has to be right. In terms of who the manager is, once again, do not care unless they play a good style of football, they bring an identity to the club that everyone can get on board with and everyone understands, that brings that hard work back onto the field, that fans will appreciate it. Time and time again, fans do not care if the team loses, if they can see what the plan was, if they can see the identity, if they can see that they've worked their asses off on that field. Fans don't get on board with players in systems that don't look interested, that are poor, that leak goals. It's that simple. So I do not care who the manager is, who the sporting director is, as long as they're bringing an identity that everyone wants.
But what's your thoughts on if it's Wagner that comes back? Do you think he will come back? Do you want him back, Kane, or not?
I think Wagner would be very silly to come back right now because the club is not in a very good place. And could that tarnish what he did before? Yeah, potentially it could. Because if it goes even worse, you're going to go, well, he did it last time, so why haven't he done it now?
That's where I disagree with that argument.
Yeah.
I think what he did last time was so good that it has to be viewed in a separate lens to anything that he might potentially come in and do, good or bad. It has to be viewed in an entirely different lens.
So would you have him back, Cal, or not?
I'd have him back purely to get a feeling that there's a decent sort of steady hand on the tiller sort of thing, because the only way that he would come back was if he had autonomy over transfers, and I assume that he would stipulate that he wanted to appoint his own director of football, because I think he did that at Norwich, didn't he? Or Webber got him in at Norwich either way, they ended up working together again. I think with him coming back with those caveats would be my ideal scenario. However, if he's going to come back and essentially be thrown to the wolves, I don't see any point in it.
No, Webber's not coming back. Blue Terrier 19 asks here, would Wagner really be everyone's first choice if you hadn't had been at us previously? No, probably not. I don't know. Probably
we plucked him from nowhere when we first got him. So what the logic dictates that we'd either get somebody back that knows the club, or we'd be doing that again and taking a risk. The risk paid off when we got Wagner, but it might not pay off again.
They've also said here that it's the longest that the club's ever gone without a permanent manager, which is an interesting statistic. Ian's gone, wow. I've no idea what that means, Ian, but
gutted that I didn't win the award, clearly. Ian, a member of the Callum Scott fan club.
Ian said it when Kane was talking, so I don't know if it was in reaction to whatever Kane was saying. So just final thoughts then on the manager front. Do we think, though, that because Wagner's name's mentioned, and say if he doesn't come back, say if he rejects the chance to come back, or there might not even be a chance for him to come back, but because the fan base has already got themselves so wound up, this is a worry that I have, so wound up about him coming back, that anybody who now steps into the dugout is just going to not be good enough. Kane. That's my worry. I just think the fan base will just see anybody as second choice.
No, I don't. Personally, I don't, because I think if you get the manager right, and as I've just said, who brings the right identity, right style of play that people want, they're not bothered. Wagner would be everyone loves Wagner. Everyone wants him back. I get that. Just don't think it's right for him, because the club is not in a good place. The club is not in a good place, and it needs to be in that right place for him to be back so he can build on what he did last time. At the moment, there's no foundations there. There's no foundations. People aren't happy. Players aren't happy. It's quite clear that. On the other hand, that might mean that Wagner comes in and turns it around. But
so that's actually my thinking as to why he would want the job, because he wanted a project when he first came in, and he had one, and he's got one now. He would have one now. That wasn't like an Easter egg spoiler that I know that he's coming back.
What do you know, Cal? Tell us.
I saw someone really hilariously posted a photo of the Hamburg to Germany flight earlier on Twitter, meaning that means he's coming back, even though that flight runs at that time every day.
I love Town fans and rumours. Look, it's been a.
I think though, just finally on this, because I have literally nothing more to say, which is rare. If he doesn't want to come back, if he says no to us, that's it. Then close that door.
Yeah,
it's over. If he doesn't want to come back, that's absolutely fine. And I understand his reasons, and his reasons would probably also be my reasons if I was in his shoes.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't want to come back, then let's not go grovelling around on bended knee and throwing money at him to make him come back. I think we move on and we look at other candidates.
You don't want another situation which happens at Millwall every year. Millwall are poor, and then Neil Harris goes back and he gets sacked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they get another manager. It's possible we'll get Neil Harris back. It's boring.
Roy Hodgson at Palace.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Well, really appreciate your time tonight, boys. Obviously, we've gone on for a bit longer than what we expected, but it's been a good review of what has been a terrible season. I'm sure we'll be back during the summer at some point to carry on these Town Talk shows. But from my point of view, I really, really do appreciate everybody who's got in touch with us throughout the season. Thank you very much to Cal for joining us throughout the campaign, mate. And thanks very much for saying that you'll continue into next summer and signing that new contract, mate. Thanks very much.
Yeah, of course, gutted in the end to have come up short with the lads. We're all gutted in the dressing room, but we go again next season, and we train hard for next season. We go again.
Thank you very much, and Kane, ever present. But thank you very much, mate, for all your hard work across the season. And I'm glad that we've got you signed up to a new contract and that you didn't get booed by the supporters like Trent did today on the pitch.
Yeah, it does make a change not to be booed, so I'll take it. I hear boos as jealousy.
Well, you did win the award, mate.
That's what it is. I don't have negative stuff in my life, so I block all that out, and I'm just looking forward to moving on.
And this is a positive in your life, mate. Well, thank you very much
moving
for
on.
that.
He said moving on. Kane Hall to join takes that chance mid-season. #HTAFC ITK.
Look, when you get the award of best punter of the people come knocking at the door, mate.
No, no. I'll up your price to 2 packets of Watsits per season, mate. That's where we're at.
My door.
Okay, so thank you very much for everybody joining us across the season. The final comment I'd like to leave to a certain Steeton fan who's got in touch with us tonight. CB, thanks very much for joining us and giving your analytics for tonight's show. That's been great, and I hope you enjoy your season in non-league next year. It's been lovely. I've been Stephen Downs. This has been Town Talk. We'll be back for hopefully a renewed positive podcast in the very near future where we can actually talk about some things that are moving forward for the club. Well, this has been the review of the 2024-25 season, and let's just hope it gets a bit more positive going forward. But for now, I've been Steve, and this has been Kane and Cal. See you later, everybody. Bye.